Jesse Jr. was not an idiot or moron or any other form of that word you could find in your local thesaurus, so when he arrived home and was still 100 feet away from the house, he noticed the front door was open, a trail of red leading from the door and a slight but distinct smell of copper. He immediately called the police and went to a friendly neighbor's house. He had seen this movie and wasn't going to be victim number two. Deep, deeper, darker. Darker still, maybe there, an idea, maybe, a further aim, that wrath and pain. Let's find you a worthy target for once. Red, but for the other side this time. Now that the burning that was Jesse Sr. was dead, it wanted to stop. It didn't want to hurt anymore, but it did hurt, and the tearing was the only thing that made it stop. It screamed again. It wanted to tear. All it could see was red, red, red. Except there, a cool spot, a dark spot, and a soft, gentle whisper. It whispered, tear. But where to tear? Sleep now, and when you awaken, we shall tear freely. It was soft, it was cool and gentle, and in this storm of red rage, what was there to do? It fell asleep, but the spark raged on. Jesse Jr. had figured what was coming. His father was dead, and while he'd never liked the man very much, it was still his father. There was some love there, and he did feel the loss, and he was sure that the what-ifs would all but be an avalanche later. But for now, it was all a whirlwind, and he was very busy. The questions came in a hailstorm, but he'd been at school. What did he know? Did anyone want to hurt his dad? Everybody knew who his dad was. Other than that, he didn't know any more than they did. Apparently, his aunt was on the way to pick him up. He was to stay with her in the city. Sheriff Bill Tithers had been on the job 35 years. This was a small town. When they say nothing like this happens here, they mean it. He didn't even carry his duty weapon. The boys who wrote traffic tickets were about the only ones who did, just in case they ran into ne'er-do-wells from out of town. And what had happened here was beyond anything a lone duty weapon could solve. Jesse Sr. had been picked apart. His insides now much further away than his outsides once were. Every time he closed his eyes, it was all Bill could see. It didn't scare him. It mostly just saddened him that humans could do that to one another. Granted, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Everybody did indeed know what Jesse Sr. was, but you still needed proof in a court of law. Looks like someone was done waiting for proof. What did scare Bill, though, was that there was no evidence, no sign of intruder or of anything amiss. Other than the remains, not even footprints in the blood. He hoped beyond hope this was a one-time thing and it would all be over soon. Everything had been in such a haste, Jesse didn't even remember he had packed the Scarecrow Caw. He said aloud, pointedly contemplating the thing. It was then, staring at the sad and pathetic doll, that he broke down. All the pain and tears and sadness he had been holding in flooded out of him and into the goofy-looking thing. He didn't know why, but it seemed to help immensely, and the thing inside slumbered soundly, for now. But the spark could feel something close by pulling at it. Not far from Jesse's home in this hellish city, evil was underway, a sickening, festering, oozing thing. It was a manor of grand splendor and opulence, all adorned in white marble and gold trim. Expensive foods and other things sat about in great quantities. But that's not what brought the people here. The people here had become monsters long ago, and hungered for more innocent things. They'd gotten away with these perverse and decadent delights for far too long, but tonight they laughed and made merry. Apparently there wasn't much to do in the big city either, Jesse thought. Turned out they were having a scarecrow contest out here as well. His new friend Gary said it was super lame, but Jesse wanted to do it anyway. He guessed maybe it was his own sort of tradition, and everything else was so haywire right now he could do with a little normalcy. Well, as normal as trying to win a Scarecrow contest in a big city could be anyways. Well, turns out it wasn't normal. It was the first year such a thing had been done, and his was the only entry. It was an easy win for Jesse and his Scarecrow Caw. The merry reveler was sick indeed, for a stuffy creature he seeked to bleed, a scarecrow doll in his red-drenched hall. Well, it was nice to know you, Caw, but you're off to a new adventure. Apparently your grand prize is to go off and be part of some fancy art exhibit for rich people. I get a prize, and you get to be admired. Jesse sure was happy. This little bit of money would change his life when he got older, and Caw would go on to be an amazing joy for others. He supposed this really was his happy ending. And for Jesse, it would be. This is where the story ends for him. He went on to live a mostly boring life, full of love and happy kids and happy wife. But for Caw, this was just a start. For now that her and Jesse were apart, she could be free to lathe and rage through evil merrily. The scarecrow known as Caw was packed up and shipped out and sent direct to somewhere she could do some bloody good.